I'm Jamie. Today's day 211 of reading. Today we're reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We're on page 43. I was seriously about to say 45. Oopsies. Wait, no, it is page 43. I was about to say 45, but just in case. Alright, let's get started. What is this? Growled Uncle Vernon. What's going on? They've tried to get here by powder, said Harry, finding a mad desire to laugh. They can travel by fire. Only you've blocked the fireplace. Hang on. He approached the fireplace and called through the boards. Mr. Weasley, can you hear me? The hammering stopped. Somebody inside the chimney piece said, Shh! Mr. Weasley, it's Harry. The fireplace has been blocked up. You won't be able to get through there. Damn, said Mr. Weasley's voice. What on earth did they want to block up the fireplace for? They've got an electric fire, Harry explained. Really? Said Mr. Weasley's voice excitedly. Electric, you say? With a plug? Gracious, I must see that. Let's think. Ouch! Ron! Ron's voice now joined the others. What are we doing here? Has something gone wrong? Oh no, Ron, came Fred's voice, very sarcastically. No, this is exactly where we wanted to end up. Yeah, we're having the time of our lives here, said George, whose voice sounded muffled, as though he was squashed against the wall. Boys, said Mr. Weasley vaguely. I'm trying to think what to do. Yes, only way. Stand back, Harry. Harry retreated to the sofa. Uncle Vernon, however, moved forward. Wait a moment, he bellowed at the fire. What exactly are you going to... Bang! The electric fire shot across the room as the boarded-up fireplace burst outward, expelling Mr. Weasley, Fred, George, and Ron in a cloud of rubble and loose chippings. And Petunia shrieked and fell backward over the coffee table. Uncle Vernon caught her before she hit the floor, and gaped, speechless, at the Weasleys, all who had bright red hair, including Fred and George, who are identical to the last freckle. That's better, panted Mr. Weasley, brushing dust from his long green robes and straightening his glasses. Ah, you must be Harry's aunt and uncle. Tall, thin, and balding, he moved toward Uncle Vernon, his hand outstretched, but Uncle Vernon backed away several paces, dragging at Petunia. Words utterly failed Uncle Vernon. His best suit was covered in white dust, which had settled in his hair and mustache and made him look as though he had just aged 30 years. Yes, sorry about that, said Mr. Weasley, lowering his hand and looking over his shoulder at the blasted fireplace. It's all my fault. It just didn't occur to me that we wouldn't be able to get out at the other end. I had your fireplace connected to the flute network, you see, just for an afternoon, so we could get Harry. Mobile fireplaces aren't supposed to be connected, strictly speaking, but I've got a useful contact at the flue regulation panel, and he fixed it for me. I can put it back right in a jiffy, though. Don't worry, I'll light a fire to send the boys back. And then I can repair your fireplace before I disintegrate. Harry was ready to bet that the Dursleys hadn't understood a single word of this. They were still gaping at Mr. Weasley, thunderstruck. Aunt Petunia staggered upright again and hid behind Uncle Vernon. Hello, Harry, said Mr. Weasley brightly. Got your trunk ready? It's upstairs, said Harry, grinning back. We'll get it, said Fred at once, winking at Harry. He and George left the room. They knew where Harry's bedroom was, having once rescued him from it in the dead of the night. Harry suspected that Fred and George were hoping for a glimpse of Dudley. They had heard a lot about him from Harry. "Well," said Mr. Weasley, swinging his arm slightly, while he tried to find words to break the very nasty silence. Very nice place you've got here." The usually spotless living room was now covered in dust and bits of brick. This remark didn't go down too well with the Dursleys. Uncle Vernon's face purpled once more, and Aunt Petunia started chewing her tongue again. However, they seemed too scared to actually say anything. Mr. Weasley was looking around. He loved everything to do with Muggles. Harry could see him itching to go and examine the television and the video recorder. They run off electricity, do they? He said, knowledgeable. "Ah, yes, I can see the plugs. I collect plugs," he added to Uncle Vernon, "and batteries. Got a very large collection of batteries. My wife thinks I'm mad, but there you are." Uncle Vernon clearly thought Mr. Weasley was mad too. He moved ever so slightly to the right, screening Aunt Petunia from view, as though he thought Mr. Weasley might suddenly run at them and attack. Dudley suddenly reappeared in the room. Harry could hear the clunk of his trunk on the stairs and knew that the sounds had scared Dudley out of the kitchen. Dudley edged along the wall, gazing at Mr. Weasley with terrified eyes, and attempted to conceal himself behind his mother and father. Unfortunately, Uncle Vernon's bulk, while sufficient time bony Aunt Petunia, was nowhere near enough to conceal Dudley. "Ah, this is your cousin, is it, Harry?" said Mr. Weasley, taking another brave stab at making conversation. "Yup," said Harry, "that's Dudley." He and Ron exchanged glances and then quickly looked away from each other. The temptation to burst out laughing was almost overwhelming. Dudley was still clutching his bottom as though afraid it might fall off. Mr. Weasley, however, seemed genuinely concerned about Dudley's peculiar behavior. Indeed, from the tone of his voice when he next spoke, Harry was quite sure that Mr. Weasley thought Dudley was quite as mad as the Dursleys thought he was, except that Mr. Weasley felt sympathy rather than fear. "Having a good holiday, Dudley?" he said kindly. Dudley whimpered. Harry saw his hand tighten still harder over his massive backside. Fred and George came back into the room carrying Harry's school trunk. They glanced around as they entered and spotted Dudley. Their faces cracked into identical evil grins. "Ah, right," said Mr. Weasley. "Better get cracking then." He pushed up the sleeves of his robes and took out his wand. Harry saw the Dursleys drop back against the wall as one. "Incendio!" said Mr. Weasley, pointing his wand at the hole in the wall behind him. Please tell me if I pronounced that right. Incendio. Flames rose at once in the fireplace, crackling merrily as though they had been burning for hours. Mr. Weasley took a small drawstring bag from his pocket, untied it, took a pinch of powder inside, and threw it onto the flames, which turned emerald green and roared higher than ever. "Off you go, then, Fred," said Mr. Weasley. "Coming," said Fred. "Oh, no, hang on." A bag of sweets had spilled out of Fred's pocket, and the contents were now rolling in every direction. Big, fat toffees and brightly colored wrappers. Dudley scrambled around, cramming them back into his pocket, then gave Dursleys a cheery wave, stepped forward, and walked right into the fire, saying, "The burrow!" Aunt Petunia gave a little shuddering gasp. There was a whooshing sound, and Fred vanished. "Right then, George," said Mr. Weasley, "you in the trunk." Harry helped George carry the trunk forward into the flame and turned it on its end so that he could hold it better. Then, with a second whoosh, George had cried, "The burrow!" and vanished too. "Ron, you next," said Mr. Weasley. "See you," said Ron brightly to the Dursleys. He grinned broadly at Harry, then stepped into the fire, shouted, "The burrow!" and disappeared. Now, Harry and Mr. Weasley alone remained. "Well, bye then," Harry said to the Dursleys. They didn't say anything at all. Harry moved toward the fire, but just as he reached the end of the hearth, Mr. Weasley put out a hand and held him back. He was looking at the Dursleys in amazement.